Okay, so let's talk about discount points, which is otherwise known as buying down your rate.
Absolutely. So a discount point, the true definition of a discount point is paying a cost to get a lower interest rate.
You're paying it up front.
You're paying it at closing, correct.
Okay.
So let's just make up an example. You have two rate options. One is costing that one discount point and one is not.
Hold on, let's back up a little bit because you're speaking from
A mortgage standpoint,
that
correct.
you already know what you're talking about.
Yep.
I want to make sure people understand first and foremost what it is first. This is where, let's say you get approved for a 4% interest rate.
Mm-hmm.
At closing, you can pay a percentage of the sale price.
Loan amount.
Loan amount.
Loan,
a percentage of the loan amount.
Yep.
A percentage of the amount being financed.
Correct. Yes,
you
ma'am.
pay that, and that's going to bring your interest rate down from 4% to maybe 3%, or
It would be, let's say, to 3.75.
okay.
So-
and then that you apply that new amount to the life of the loan, correct?
You would be paying that cost at closing.
Okay.
So let's use your example. So it's a $400,000 loan amount.
Mm-hmm.
You have a 4% interest rate choice or a 3.75. The cost to get 3.75 is 1% of your loan amount.
So you're saying that the lender would say, listen, we'll give you a loan at 4%, but if you want to do the loan at 3.75%, you can. You're just going to have to pay us a chunk of money at closing.
Correct. You would be
Okay.
paying 1%.
The discount point.
And also, let's go over that we're using an absurdly high interest rate example in the current market. They're not that high currently, but that's a perfect example. So you're paying to get 3.75 over 4%.
Okay. And why would someone want to do this?
Well, so in theory, you have the cost per saving or the cost and the savings per month, right?
Okay.
So
Meaning your payment's lower.
your payment's lower.
Okay. And like over the life of this more than likely 30-year mortgage, the interest is going to be a little bit lower that you pay.
Right.
Okay.
Right. The savings are there. Now, the first thing that everybody's going to say is, well, which rate option should I choose and which one's better for me? Right away, you want to do cost versus savings. Okay.
Right.
So if the difference in the two rates is $40, but it's costing you $4,000 to get that
So
lower
the
rate.
discount point is $4,000 to lower it 0.25.
Correct. And saving you roughly $40 a month. I mean, we're using an imaginary example, but let's just say,
this is not far off.
no, it's not. Correct.
Yeah.
And so right away, how long does it take for you to save that $4,000
To
at
recoup
$40
that
a month?
$4,000.
To recoup the $4,000 at $40 a month is 100 months.
Yeah. I mean, some people have already sold the house by then. By
Correct.
month 70. I mean, they're out.
So a lot of people going into it want the lower rate because they just think it makes sense.
Yeah. They hear lower interest rate and they instantly are like, oh, I want that.
Correct. So you need to look at it. Is it going to take you 10 years to get that back? Or is it going to take you 3 years? Well, hey, if it's going to take 3 years, I'm going to take my chances that paying for the lower rate makes sense financially. Mm-hmm. If it's going to take me 10 years, then it's not. Because remember, it's a sliding scale. It depends on what the rate is that
Right.
day. It depends on what the cost is. So there isn't a blanket number
Yeah.
to make this decision.
Well, and I have seen actually very recently, actually as of a couple weeks ago, I've seen lenders throw this on a loan, not telling anybody that they have an option. I had a first-time home buyer, and she came to me. We got the prelim CD, and she saw what she needed to bring to the closing table, and she's like, "This is like $5,000 higher than I thought it would be." I was like, well, "Let me take a look at it and see where this $5,000 discrepancy is coming from."
Right.
And we look, and I'm like, "Well, you've got a discount point on here." She's like, "What's that?" She didn't even know what that is, because that, in addition to all the other lingo and terms that are on there, most people don't even know. And I said, well, did you know you're buying down your rate? No, nobody talked to me about that. The lender just put it on there. So I'd call him and say, can she qualify without buying down her rate? And he was like, yeah. I was like, well, then take this shit off.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, and I think a lot of lenders will do that because the lower rate is more attractive. Mm-hmm. So if they're shopping around and they don't know the real cost of that
Absolutely.
rate, they're not comparing
I see
apples
it
to oranges.
all the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, okay, so you know, I tell everybody, hey, what do they have? Like in 30 days, they have 3 chances to go shop their rate, right?
Yeah, usually 2 weeks. You can shop around
2
in 2
weeks?
weeks with
Okay.
having your credit pulled a
Without
couple
it
times.
hurting you too
Without
bad.
it, in theory, supposedly
Got it.
hurting.
And so they'll go look and they're like, well, this lender said X amount, but this one's 0.5% lower. I'm like, yeah, but you also need to look at the fine print. You might have a charge on there that's not coming out in the wash. Like, it's actually going to hurt you. So
No, I'm going to call out, and I'll probably get in trouble. I'm going to call out some big guys here and say that Wells Fargo and Quicken
absolutely.
are known for sending just a pre-approval letter with a rate that looks very attractive, no estimate.
Right.
So if you talk to them and then you talk to me and I give you the estimate, you're going to see what the costs are, the rate, everything else. Then you can make an educated decision. Everyone else, like the lady that you were talking about earlier, is just given a rate. Well, it looks great. They don't provide any numbers.
Then they get the itemized breakdown, and it's like, hold on a second. Yeah, I don't care about the rate anymore. Now I care about all this money you're telling me I have to pay up front.
Correct.
And it almost made it where she couldn't buy the house.
Correct. I had one with Quicken where Quicken would not give the client the numbers up front like I did. They ended up going with Quicken, and at closing, they needed more money than they were prepared to bring, and it delayed closing because they did not know from day one how much they needed.
Yeah. And in today's market, I mean, you can lose the house over that easily.
100%.
Yeah.